Hi guys, hope you're well. So today we're talking about a watch brand. Now I can only go from what the vibe I get and what I think. That's ultimately why it's my channel. But I don't think there's many people out there that think of Panerai as a bad watch brand. Not everyone owns one, not everyone wants to own one, but no one out there really goes, oh, they're a bit crap. Unlike Tag definitely have their haters, but I don't think anyone hates Panerai. But on the flip side, why do people not take that next step and actually go out there and buy one? In a recent poll on Instagram, I asked the question, is Panerai in your top 3 watch brands? And only 20% said yes. Do you own a Panerai? Only 12% said yes. And to make it a bit broader and a bit fairer, I asked if Panerai were in the top 5 watch brands. And only a third said yes at 31%. So they're relatively low numbers for what is nothing wrong with a watch brand. So what is it about Panerai? Can you put your finger on why they're not a more popular brand? Right guys, so this is the Luminar Marina and this is Workington Watch's watch. Thank you very much for the loan. He's been on at me for a while now to sort of borrow this and get it in for loan. And there's not much that isn't nice about this watch. You can just tell it's got great looks, great design, great build quality. But there is a few issues for me personally, and they do centre around the size of the watch and the wearability on a daily factor. So a couple of things that I'll give you my talking points. I'm not going to say whether they're good or bad, and at the end I'll give you my too good, too bad, along with I put a poll out there and asked people what they think about Panerai on Instagram, and I've got a varied range of what is good and bad about Panerai, so we'll get into that later on in the video as well. So first off the bat is the design of the watch. Now for me, it's timeless. Is it unique? Yeah, you've got to say that Panerai watches are unique. There's not much like them out there in the market. And one of the striking factors about this design, which Workington Watches bought this watch about 12, 13 years ago. And if it had, granted he's had it polished and he's had it serviced in that time, but if you'd have told me that he bought it last week, I wouldn't have batted an eyelid. It's got a true, uniquely brilliant, timeless design. And buy it 12 years ago, 15 years ago, yesterday, they look the same. And there's something to be said for that. And that's a Rolex Submariner quality anyway. That's what I think anyway. On top of that, the loom is, oh la la, really, really special loom. You don't have to charge it. You don't have to do anything apart from flash a bit of natural daylight on it and bang, there it is. Really, really strong loom. Really good looking loom. Really clear, crisp dial as well, which is really beautiful. And this is a statement piece. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think if you've got a relatively large watch collection where you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces in there, a statement piece is not a bad idea. As a one watch collection, I'm not sure I could get on board with this watch, but as part of a larger collection, like Workington Watches has got, it's got a Speedy, a Submariner, all sorts of different things going on. This fits in quite nicely, and some days you just have that vibe where you want to wear a big watch, don't you? So yeah, I think a statement piece can be a good thing in a larger collection. As a one-off watch all day, every day, no, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. Now, the pin system on this is rather unique. It's definitely more secure than your regular pins, but it's a bit of a faff and you need 2 hands in. Is it necessary? I suppose it is. If it's, it's more secure, it's going to be a dive watch, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, it's unique. It's a lot stronger. It's a good thing, but it's a little bit faffy for me. The timeless design of it, as I've already mentioned, I just think that 12 years ago, and it looks like it could have been bought last week. I think that's a really good thing. Now, one of the negatives for me, and it should be a positive, is that you do actually get a rubber strap or you get the leather strap option with this. So this is the official Panerai rubber strap. But for me, even though it's quite a supple rubber, the clasp system and trying to get it on and off is really fiddly, and it's not the end of the world. It's not like a major puzzle that I can't solve, but it's just too fiddly for me. And if you need to take it in and out a notch, I think again it's not as easy as it could be. It's a bit of a ball ache in all honesty. So when the rubber strap should be a good option and an extra option for me, unfortunately, it's a negative. And one of the things about this watch, we can't get away from it, is the size. It's a big watch. It's a 44mm watch. The crown is monstrous. I get that. But on top of that, it's got massive, massive lugs, and it all adds to the presence. The way it adds to a statement piece. I get that you want a statement piece, but I just think I wish if they'd have toned down the lugs, that 44mm would have been more manageable. I know they do a smaller size Panerais nowadays, and I think that is where I would look. But if you look at the money they cost, for me, I'm always going to look at Omega, Breitling, Rolex, if I could ever frigging get one. So this was £3,000 12 years ago. Apparently new now with the in-house movement, the £6,000. So £3,000 seems like a bargain now, doesn't it? But that is 12 years ago. So £6,000, there's a lot out there for £6,000. And are you going to buy a Panerai? I'm not so sure. I know I've looked at them periodically online, as I look at all watches online, and I love the look, I love the design, but I don't think I'll ever get over the line and actually physically purchase one. Now, back 12 years ago, maybe a bit earlier, when I was just getting into watches, a 45mm watch would have been a wet dream for me. The bigger, the better, ultimately. And back then, this would have been my ideal watch. I'd have absolutely loved it. But as my tastes have changed and my addiction to watches has grown, and I've learnt a little bit more along the way, I just think for all day, everyday comfort, my watches need to be a little bit smaller. And I'd almost pick a watch over comfort than looks nowadays. So unfortunately for me, I love the looks, I love the design. I might go for it in a 40mm, but ultimately it's not for me. So let me tell you a little bit about what you guys actually think of Panerai. Let me get these photos up. So I'm just going to read them out super quick, and you can just gauge the difference in opinion that is out there about Panerai. Boring, love it. Straight off the bat, two different ones there. Very cool and unique, but with some self-inflicted issues. Nice to have in a big collection. Love the 914 and the 915 references. Huge and different. Well, that's exactly what they are there. I love them, distinctive and not following the herd. That is true. They do stand alone, and you can spot a Panerai a mile off, which is probably a good thing, to be fair. Very innovative, distinctive, case design, in-house movements with complications, not for everyone, granted. In my top 10, I guess, but perhaps too pricey. A lot of the comments are around that, to be fair. I would like one. I find them too expensive, and what you get these days is not worth it. Fair enough. Love the style and clarity. Want one. I have a 40mm, and it's a keeper for sentimental reasons. Would love to try one for a few weeks, mate. Right, so trying one for a few weeks is not actually buying one, is it? So someone's called it fancy. For the same price, I'd rather have something else. One trick pony, but of the most robust and manly looking brands out there. Strap monster, very true. So yeah, there you go. There is a lot around Panerai, my Australian, that is positive. They've got the Panerista sort of watch community that's a community within a community, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, as all watches, there's a good opinion and a bad opinion, isn't there? So on this occasion for me, I've worn it, I've enjoyed it, but ultimately for me, probably in my top one or two things that I look for in a watch now is wearability, the comfort factor. So when I'm wearing such a big watch on my wrist and I put my hand back like that, I can feel it and I'm conscious of wearing it. And I think that's why I've flipped and changed so many watches in the past, because when I become conscious of wearing it, I start to eat away my own brain and think it's an uncomfortable watch. And I think that's what the Panerai would be for me. So size-wise, it's a no-go, unfortunately, for me. But my too good, too bad are the design. I love the design. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, to be fair. The loom is awesome, absolutely brilliant. And the too bad are the things that I've already mentioned. It's the size and the wearability, ultimately. So we've had a brief look at a 12-year-old Panerai. It's a beautiful watch, but ultimately not for me. But I'd just like to say thank you, Working Two Watches. Greatly appreciated. Great collection, mate. Thank you for the loan. So guys, let me know what you think about Panerai. I'm not so sure. I like them, but I never need to buy one. Are you the same? I'll see you in the next one.